Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty School Bobby. Today's guest is Aaron Rodgers. Not that Aaron Rodgers, not the NFL quarterback, but Aaron Rodgers from ProsperU. And in my opinion, he is the much better Aaron Rodgers. So today I got to talk to him about the future of the beauty industry and what programs and pathways are available for not only beauty school students, but beauty professionals. Aaron and I talked a lot about standards today, standards in the beauty industry, and just kind of how right now I feel like we're at a place where we both agree that shift and change needs to happen. And so we talk about building a community where you can share ideas to get validation in the way that you're operating and why we think that community is so important. Aaron offers a lot of fun advice. Aaron is very energetic and moves a lot when he's talking. And so I think both of us really matched our energies in that way. And so I think if you are listening, if you have the opportunity to switch over to YouTube and watch the video, Aaron's video is super entertaining. So this is a fun episode to watch as well. But not only does he offer encouragement for young beauty professionals, but also for stylists and salon owners also. So Aaron is very much like me, where we operate in a lot of different worlds. We are not only focused on just one area of the industry. And so I think we were able to touch on a lot of different roles and different advice for people that are in different roles in the beauty industry. So I really feel like this episode has something for everybody. So I think that you're going to love it. And I think you all are in for a treat with what Aaron has to say and to share today. So I hope you love it. At the end of this, we actually added in a new segment. So Mark and I have been going back and forth about different ways that we want to change the podcast and the format and just different things that we want to do. So we've actually added a new segment that will be on the episodes. So Aaron was the first person that we tested this out with, but I want to have our guests have the chance to ask me a question. I'm interviewing them and asking their opinions on things. And yes, we talk in conversation about the way that I feel about things or things that I think. And we wanted to add that in a little bit more. So Aaron had a question for me. We have an Ask Bobbi segment now. So if you are wanting to know my opinion on something or want to ask me a question, it can be off the wall. There's no parameters. I didn't know the question that he was going to ask ahead of time, but that was really fun. So at the end of this episode, you'll get to hear the first ever Ask Bobbi. If you want to ask me a question, you can go to the website, beautyschoolbobby.com, and there is a submission box on the website where you can ask a question. So when I'm doing solo episodes, I'll answer those questions, or maybe if we get enough, we'll do episodes of just answering Ask Bobbi questions. So I'm really excited about this. I would love if you submitted your questions because I'm so interested to know what you all want to know from me. And so I'm excited about that. But you can go to beautyschoolbobby.com to submit your questions. Make sure that at the end of this episode, you give us a 5-star review. That really helps with to push the podcast to where it needs to go. So I hope you love it. Enjoy this episode with Aaron Rodgers. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty School Bobby. Today I am here with Aaron Rodgers, which even like posting this today, I literally I was like, but not that Aaron Rodgers, because as you know, as we talked about before, I'm a huge Steelers fan. And right now I would really just love to have this person out of my life. So I'm so happy to replace the old Aaron Rodgers with this Aaron Rodgers in my life. And so happy to have you here. So Aaron Rodgers from ProsperU. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm not in the best straits either. So hopefully next year we actually have a season, but who knows? It's funny that you mentioned that because I was at the airport and it was when they were playing, and the waiter was like, "Aaron Rodgers, I thought you were supposed to be playing a game."
I bet you get it just all the time.
All the time, especially when he was playing for Green Bay. That was always,
Yeah.
yeah. I had clients who were like, "Hey, I'm going to send you a jersey." It's like, okay, do it. But no, not as much now, but still quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm happy to replace you in my world of a new Aaron Rodgers. So, Aaron, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I got to meet you in October at the AXE conference, and we have a mutual friend that was like, "You have to meet Aaron," and I'm always so interested of what that's going to be. I'm sure you get this a lot too, because you never know what to expect when somebody's like, "Oh, you have to meet this person." And I was so pleasantly surprised when I met you, and you just have a really great energy about you. And so I'm so thankful that our paths crossed, and excited to talk about what you do in the beauty industry, because you're working with a program that is amazing. And I think more people need to hear about this program and know about what this program is. But before we talk about Prosper You, I kind of want to talk about just like quickly how you came into the beauty industry, when that was, and kind of what your career path has been in the beauty industry so far to get you to where you are right now.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you get that in the networking side, and for anyone starting out, you never know what those little interactions can lead to. So it's like, don't ever say no to those, and that's why I'm like, oh, of course, I want to meet whoever you want to recommend, because I love surrounding myself with those energetic people, and that's kind
Mhm.
of what happened with my career. Like, to be honest, like I grew up homeschooled. I'm one of 10 kids, and it was one of those things is like, oh, I'm going to probably go into construction like my dad, or, I might, I was always good at math. So they would say, oh, you should be an engineer or an accountant. And so I went to college for 2 years and studied accounting. And yeah, I was good at it, but it wasn't fulfilling me. You know what I mean? It wasn't giving me that level of satisfaction, or there was something feeling like there was missing. And so I started looking elsewhere, not entirely sure knowing what to do. And I stumbled on the Eric Fisher Academy's website, and oh my gosh, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It's like these people were like dressed up, they had, fun hair. I'd always just had, a buzz cut growing up. They had fun hair. There was a guy, Oscar Bond, coming in and doing education for them. And he, like, this dude from London's coming in to do education for us. And so I was just blown away. I was like, there's energy. Like, I can see the energy from the website alone, uh, not even just being able to go into the building. So then, um, from there, I scheduled a tour with the admissions person, Julie Carlson, and I will never forget this woman, because going in, she was just so bubbly. She was so inviting. It was so different than going into college. It felt
Mhm.
almost like you're just falling in line. You were going down the conveyor belt, so to speak. Not that I loved college. I got a lot out of it, like in hindsight, but this was just so different. And you could feel the energy. People were excited to be there. Not not that, you can't be excited about other things, but it just that you could cut it. Like, it felt like, oh, these were my people. There's a lot of creatives going
Mhm.
on. And Julie turns to me, she says, Aaron, have you ever considered doing beauty school? And I was like, no, this is the first time. I looked it up last week and I scheduled to come in. And she recommends, she's like, well, have you ever picked up a blow dryer ever? I'm like, no, I've never picked up a blow dryer. I brush my hair sometimes. Like, so, there's this poor admissions woman being like, what is going on? Why are you here? And she says, I'd recommend to go to the Eric's salons, go tour it just to see what it's like to be at a salon. It's like, it sounds like you've always gotten haircuts at a barber shop. So I took her advice. I go, and I'm looking at Eric's Tuesday night class. He does Tuesday night class. He's done it for 30 plus years. It's amazing. Go in there, same thing. These people are creative. They're dressing fun. They have fun hair. They're all so nice. There's just so much energy there. And meeting Eric Fisher, the man makes you feel like you could fly to the moon on your own power. Like, that's just how he is. He's very inspiring. And so it was kind of a series of events for me. It's like, I knew college wasn't there. And so finding the academy just on happenstance, I was like, okay, I'll go look at this because I like it. And so it was just like each step I took, I just said yes to, you know, learning more about it. Going in, and Julie recommended going to the salon, and then just seeing that energy, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. And so my first goal going into hair school was to work for Eric. I mean, that was really, I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna finish as fast as I can. I'm gonna learn as much as I can, and I'm gonna convince Eric to hire me. And that was it. Like I didn't have a future after that. I was just so ready for something other than college. I was so
Mhm.
driven to just finish something that was more me, more creative, something I could do with my hands, something I could really own myself. So that's it. Like we're kind of landed, and I've gotten to do so much in the industry since then. Working as a stylist, working as a platform artist, getting to do hair and videos, to going to be an educator, to then being poached. ProsperU poached
Mhm.
me, and I was very fortunate that they did. I absolutely love it, and now I'm the director at ProsperU. So I had no idea that one website visit to an admissions visit to seeing the salon could lead to this. Like, no way could I plan this,
Mhm.
but that's what this beauty industry can do for us.
Yeah, I really love that it was just like kind of on a whim like that for you. And I think that the message for sure that I want people to hear today is that sometimes it's not what you've planned or what you thought your life was going to look like or the timing or whatever, but just knowing when your gut is pulling you towards something, when you are drawn to something, to go explore it. I mean, it could have ended with that admissions appointment and you could have been like, okay, but what's the worst in that? Okay, so you wasted 2 hours or whatever of your day. I think I really wish that more people would just kind of follow those pools from your gut and be like, wait, why is that coming at me? I'm big on repetition. When something is put in front of me or I hear something a few times, I'm like, wait, that's probably a direction I need to look into a little bit more or just start exploring because, whatever you believe or whatever that is, the universe does have like a path for you, and sometimes you just have to be open to just exploring it and just understanding that, like, it's okay if it's not the right thing, but look at where it has led you just from being open. Like the two things you listed of ideas that you thought you would be, right? Or the career paths that you thought you would have are so far from this. Now, I definitely believe that there's parts of every industry that can help you in this. But you really found where you fit, where Aaron fits in the world, is in this industry. Clearly, you've worked so successfully to be where you are now. And it just all was off of trusting your gut from visiting a website. And I don't think that we give enough credit to those things happening, or maybe we don't. We're like, here, decide, make a choice, plan this path and whatever. And I just love that your story is opposite of that. And I think a lot of people have a similar experience. And
Well,
I love that you explored it.
it's funny because it's like, you trust your gut. I don't think that necessarily it has to be like a knee jerk reaction. So it's like I
Mhm.
had scholarships in college. Like I had, I think a 3.8. I don't remember now.
Yeah.
I'm 6 credits shy from a 2 degree, 5 credits shy from 2 degrees. And so when I tell my dad, he's like, "What?" He's construction, so he was ecstatic that we went to college and really tried because
Mhm.
he didn't have that opportunity. But he told me, he was like, "Me and your mom wanted to have a lot of kids, and we wanted to raise you guys to have other opportunities." He's like, "That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted."
Yeah.
So for him, it was me giving up things. And so in my quest to start, I showed him what was possible in the beauty industry. And I was like,
Mhm.
look, like I talked to Eric Fisher, and, he broke down, it's like, you can, just like in construction, the harder you work, the more money you could make. And so this is
Mhm.
what's possible here. And I had to show him facts and figures. And I think it's important, even if you're making a gut, decision, to put a little bit of thought into, like what does my future look like?
Mhm.
What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? And will this give me the funds to be able to live that lifestyle? So I think it's important to do a little bit of that research afterwards. But I'm
Mhm.
so glad that I trusted it, because everyone else was saying, Aaron, you got scholarships. This is going to be one of the best. Like, you'll be so set. Like, you make so much money doing these things with math. And like, I was like, yeah, I'm good at it, but doesn't mean I should do it for the rest of my life. And
Mhm.
actually, going into beauty school is like, yeah, there's a lot of math. Surprisingly,
Mhm.
if you want to do it right, there is so, not, maybe not as much as like calculus or trigonometry or anything like that, but at the same time, there is still that piece that can scratch the left side of your brain just as much as the right
Mhm.
side. But I love what you said is, it's like being in a community where that's okay. Like, hey, I've got a gut feeling and I want to go. I agree with you. We don't encourage it enough. And maybe that's why we get burnt out so much. And,
Mhm.
and so I'm not sure, what that means, but I have found a lot of peace in my life by following it.
Yeah, I love that so much. And so now your job full time is, I know you wear a lot of hats and you're very connected to different parts of the industry, but your main role is director at ProsperU. So for those listening that do not know what ProsperU is, tell us a little bit about what ProsperU does and how it serves the beauty industry.
So, we've been a business and financial literacy program for a really long time. And so the way I look at it is, if we were an invention, we'd be like an elevator. It's like if you're gonna go up in a sky rise, there's stairs and there's an elevator. And shoot, you might even want to scale it. I don't know if you're a rock climber at all, right? So there's multiple ways to get up, but for us, Prosper You to me is the elevator. You get on, doesn't matter how much baggage you have, you be able to push to the top floor. So that's kind of what we're looking for when we try to explain Prosper You is like, these are best practices that can lead you to success a little bit faster than maybe what I experienced. And so it's all about taking past experiences from Eric Fisher, ourselves as workers here, and embedding it into the business or financial literacy program. And we also have a styling program. So when we look at it, it's everything that we feel like might be missing from a beauty school. Whether that be, hey, you want to be able to manage your funds really extraordinarily well. Well, here's this financial literacy program to make sure that you understand personal finance and your booth rental finance. Same thing with on the business side. Eric was really a big proponent on like, hey, what are simple consultation tactics? What's your strategy to build your business? What steps are you taking on a regular basis to build your business? And so that's what Prosper is really in the core is a business financial literacy program, and then we're transitioning into that styling, a style with knowledge element. I could talk about this for days and days and days, but if you think about it, it's primarily focused for schools to set their students up for long lasting careers.
Yes. And if you are somebody that is, really driven and motivated, I think, like you said, this does definitely, if you're, all schools look different. And if there is a student that's, at a school and wanting a little bit more and wanting to do these extra things, I think that having these resources is the key to success. And I think that not everybody wants it, like everybody's at a different stage when they're in beauty school of, hey, I don't want to think about that yet, or it just isn't on their radar, or maybe they don't see the importance or value of it. But, trusting the professionals and knowing that, these extra resources do matter and they are important. I think that for beauty school students that are hungry and do want that, I know that there's so many success stories from people that have, been with Prosper U and gone through this, that I really think that just for those extra things, like people want more and they crave more. And I think for that, again, it's maybe not just like blanket for everyone or for everybody to understand the value, but the more that we can give students in beauty school to set them up, it's just better for the industry, as a whole. And will you kind of speak to that a little bit about, what being open-minded to, to these things while you're in school, and knowledge is power. So tell me a little bit about like the curriculum. I know you said like business finances, adding in those other skills, as well. Talk to me a little bit about, the perspective of a beauty school student, why something like this would be so important.
Thank you for that and a great lead up into this. So I do want to say that we did launch Be Wildly Successful for professionals. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. It's like, and Money Habits. We're also selling it to professionals. Be Wildly Successful is like the grown up version of Fast Track. Fast Track's embedded in the school. So for a student's experience, and the things that I would love for them to be open minded about is that the value stream is that each point of contact with your guest is an opportunity to wow them. So if you're looking at it from as simple as a greeting, what is your core value message? What is your defining statement? And does it come to life when you go first meet somebody? So it's like from ground zero is what the program's teaching, all the way up to the fond farewell. And then being open minded and thinking about, okay, what kind of consultation skills, what's an in depth consultation look like? For us, it's open ended questions and follow up questions. So if I were to ask you right now, I was like, what's your favorite thing about your hair? You gave me feedback. Now I'm going into active listening skills. So in the program, we also talk about the active listening skill. And I will tell you, it's like all of this sounds like common sense, but then when you try to go into common practice, we fall short because I mean, there's lots of science behind it, but there's pathways in the brain that you're trying to build when you're going into education, and so that role playing aspect, we embed a lot of role playing in it, so we get comfortable with the pivots that we have to do during consultations. Did they say over the ears, or did they mean they want their hair over their ears? And that can be a really big element. But if you're not attuned to those active listening skills and practicing those, then you can fall short very quickly. And this is where our program helps develop those skills early on. So we're catching those adjustments or those redos before they happen with your
Mhm.
consult with your communication skills. So that's the first
Mhm.
few chapters, within ProsperU, and it starts to build. On the other side, there's the strategies on the back end. We teach students how to attract, maximize, retain. So attract isn't just posting on social media. Yes, it very important, right? You want to, again, what's your defining statement? What's your core values? Does your feed look like your defining statement or your core values? If not,
Mhm.
give it to your educator and say, hey, what is my feed telling you? Could you give me a few words? They might say like, oh, well, you're very creative and innovative, but you're wanting to be sleek and clean, and you're
Mhm.
not getting those yet. That might be something, a way to evaluate that later. Whereas you can also go into traditional marketing. Are you making business cards? And I'll tell you, us millennials are loving traditional marketing because social media is so oversaturated. Sometimes it's nice to just get someone that's confident enough to hand you a business card, right? So it's
Mhm.
like if you're making business cards or going to local places, we have that conversation in the lesson to give you the information. It's about educating and for you to make your own decision. Because for some of us, I built majority of my business through word of mouth and through traditional marketing. Whereas I know lots of stylists, they post one picture on their social media and they have such a clean aesthetic. They have such a good following. They'll get 7 people message them right away and get get their bookings. So it kind of depends on you, but we're really more so, let's have the education, let's have the conversation. These are all the things that are possible. Don't limit the tools in your toolbox. Don't just rely on one
Mhm.
source. In my opinion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's
No,
that's
and I was gonna say, like, the tools in the toolbox thing, like, that's exactly what's running through my head as you're sharing all of this, because I think no better time than in beauty school is there to get as many things as you can get. Like, be a sponge and take all of it, because just when you were saying, there's somebody who can post one picture, that's right now, and that's okay. And you might not need this tool that's over here, but as we know, the industry changes, social media, we're still grasping like longevity and what this, looks like and long term and all that stuff. So why not have that tool off to the side for when you need it? I think all of this information is helpful, even if it doesn't pertain to you in this moment, which is why I think, again, for beauty school students to be able to just be that sponge and have it, that is what is key. I think that's the difference of longevity in the beauty industry. And, you and I know what a huge conversation, that is, and what the careers look like and how long people stay in the industry. And that I think that the whole, the reason that the numbers are what they are, of so many people leaving so early, this is a huge part of it. We don't have 4 years to give you every tool, right? Like, we don't have like 4 years like traditional college to say we're going to get you
right.
everything. We have 1,500 hours in our state. It's different in other states, and possibly changing. And so I think that, like, just to have this stuff given to you so early in your career, we understand that value because we've been in the industry for so long. I understand that not all students see that or are thinking in that mindset yet. But if I can, say anything, it's to trust that we trust the people that have been in it, trust the people that are doing it, to know that this is an amazing resource and it's all so valuable. Because most of the time, if you talk to anybody that went to beauty school 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you know that this wasn't a part of what they received in their education at the majority of schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things that I was very fortunate because Eric's our founder, and so it was being written while I was in school, so I got an element of it, right?
Hmm.
And so anytime I think about education, it's always, as an educator, I want to leave the environment better than I found it. So it's like
Hmm.
when I'm going to schools, it's like, hey, think about back when you would have had this. Would this have made a difference for you? And every
Hmm.
educator, every single time is like, yes, I wish I would have had this in school. And so
Hmm.
it's like, okay, be that educator that you wish you would have had. Find the pieces that you would like to have imparted on. And again, I was very fortunate that I got some of the business element in school, but I also had business and accounting before. So it's coming in with a little bit, maybe more knowledge. But at the same time, what I'd like to really stress to people that are watching this, if you're a student or a future professional, I'd like for you to think about it's like the to keep that open mind of they might be giving the information to me right now and I might not get it right away, but I promise
Mhm,
you it will click. So it's like
mhm,
keep notes, keep as many notes on the things. It's like, hey, they told me to build my business like this. I agree or disagree. Just keep simple notes like that you can come back to because 1 year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I kept those notes. Because your educators are telling you things based off of their personal experience, and that is real world, real life experiences. So don't take those things for granted and keep notes. Keep as many notes as you
yeah.
can.
Now, is this a course that you're able to add? I know that you said that you have a piece for beauty professionals that are already licensed. Really, really, as I'm talking to beauty school students that are across the United States, just kind of outside of our bubble where we are, or just in our school, I'm really trying to encourage students and stylists to, invest in yourself. Understand that there are some things that you might need to learn and take on. So I know that that's available, but is there a space for somebody that's out of beauty school that isn't offering this? Is this something that is able to be added on through their time as a student, or is this something that once you get out there, if you didn't get this, make sure in your first year, that you're adding in the beauty professional piece?
Excellent question. And so fast track money habits and style with knowledge is embedded into the school experience. We get embedded in the curriculum.
Hmm.
So if your school doesn't have any extra business education, you can go to your educators or whoever you would like and encourage them. It's like, hey, there's a new business program that I saw. Really excited that Bobby featured them on the podcast. That's something you can share. If that's something where they're not ready to invest on that side, that's okay. They might have something else that they're teaching. So if you're looking for that, I would recommend the Be Wildly Successful when you graduate.
Hmm.
You can purchase it before, but the way the Be Wildly Successful is laid out, and I love this, it's a 12-week program and it follows along with you. So as you're week to week, it's giving you action plans to help you build your business, whether that be attract, maximize, or attain. So it's giving you step by step things that you can implement right away. It's a little harder to do while you're in school because you might not have the autonomy to do certain things.
Hmm.
So it's like I'm not saying you can't. I would say that encourage your educators, encourage your school to look at ProsperU if this is some kind of education that you feel like you're not getting yet. So
Hmm.
I would, always recommend that first, and then Be Wildly Successful. And Money Habits is its own side. Does that answer your question? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, exactly what I wanted to know. I want to know who has access to this and when, and what people can be doing if they're listening and like, yes, I am interested in this. Cause again, what I know is there are very different types of beauty school students. And that's not like a negative, but it is like, some people are ready for this. Like you said, they're at their place in their time where they're ready to take on more of these things, or maybe what they're learning in beauty school is it wherever they are, like they're kind of maxed out on what they can take in, but that doesn't mean that they are missing the opportunity to have this education and to use this. Because I think that especially going into a salon, I think something like that's tracking you and helping you and kind of motivating you, that's something that but that's just who I am as a person. I'm very like, I like to have a plan, I like to have a path. And so I think that just knowing that people can take their own ownership of their education past what happens in beauty school is really, really important for our industry right now. And I think just getting in the habit of, investing in yourself is something that I'm just really trying to push. Like, you don't have to wait for somebody else to bring this education to you. How do you go get it? What resources are there?
Absolutely. And I will tell you, you never stop learning in this industry. As soon as you think you know everything is honestly the time when I think you should quit. And that's the
Hmm.
advice that I got from my boss, Luciano. I worked at a bartender part time when I was a hairdresser starting out. And he's this cook from, Italy. He's such a cool dude, he's racing motorcycles. And I was cutting his hair after work. And he said, Aaron, if you ever feel like you learned everything about your business, it's the time to quit. And I was like, really? He's like, that's how I've approached my life because then your passion dies. He's like, "Don't let
Hmm.
your passion die." So always look for learning. And Eric Fisher's the same way. And I love that all these usually very successful people always say the same thing. It's always, you never stop learning. And
Mhm.
so it's like if you're in school and you think there'll come a point where it's like you'll stop investing in yourself, you stop learning, you really need to self evaluate there. It's like I would say it's like you should approach your industry where it's like, where can I always get education? And personally, I've always felt like business and financial literacy, and this is why I'm working for ProsperU probably,
Mhm.
is been the missing piece for a while because I've saw a lot of friends leave the industry because they couldn't monetize their passion.
Mhm.
By that I mean to me they were better than me. You know, I'm very confident. I'm a blending specialist. Like I can color circles around you. I guarantee it. But at the same time, I saw them having a natural knack for it, and I considered them better than me. But they, for some reason, couldn't get it in gear for the business side. Not sure 100% the reasons, but I could give you coaching if you wanted me to. But at the same time, I felt like it was the business and financial literacy side. So it's not $100 made that day. You got to think about your overhead and your fixed and your variable income. So there's a lot that goes into it. And my goal is that anyone that goes through Prosper You has staying power in the industry. Like, hey, if you found passion somewhere else, go for it. Like,
Mhm.
go do whatever it is. Go be a professional skydiver. That sounds super cool, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, at least that if you have passion here in the beauty, you can monetize it.
Yeah, I definitely like to encourage that, like, of just finding your people. And this is kind of goes back to one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about also is just the way that you all work with schools and school owners, and the way that you invest in schools just in general. And I think that I want to talk a little bit about really the way that we were connected, and the reason we were connected was for a an event that you all host called Meeting of the Minds, and somebody that we're connected through was like, Bobby, you have to be here, and this is so important. So again, switching from student to school owner, educator. I know there's probably other roles that show up at Meeting the Minds, but tell me a little bit about how this event got created and what Meeting of the Minds is.
Same thing, focused on the student. If you're watching this as you're a student or future professional, don't tune out. Understand that there's a lot of stuff in the background that's going on, and the way the vendors are supporting you, the way we're supporting the industry. We want this industry healthy. We want you to be able to be proud of the industry that you're in. So when we look at this, Meeting of the Minds was developed to be able to come in as a school to sync up, to make sure that we're giving the best education to those future professionals. And I call you future professionals because it's just like stuck in my brain. That's just how I've always done it. So it's as the students. And so in Meeting of the Minds, you have 2 days full of education for the educators or owners, the directors. We have some admissions pieces. We've had some guest service topics. It just depends on the year and the challenges that we hear from our schools. So we base it off of the communication that we have regularly with the schools. The schools that are like, hey, very transparent with us. These are the challenges. We've been doing these activities. They're not working anymore. What's going on? So it's either coaching, maybe their presentation skills, or maybe giving them new information. But Meeting the Minds is, for me, is the true melting pot. We bring in not just experts in the beauty side, but experts in education. So Dr. Karen
Mhm.
Dooling, her doctorate's in education. She helped us write a lot of our materials, making sure that they're really easy to follow for the educator. She comes in and she'll do a segment to expand our knowledge on adult pedagogy, or engagement with the learners. We're all adult learners, and there's a lot of things that are applicable in all different areas. And so Meeting the Minds is, again, that focus is like, we want our industry to be elevated. We want our students' experience to be elevated. And so how do we do that? Well, we support the school, we support the owners, directors, the educators, the directors of educate, all of it. We want to come in and we're your support so that we can help you do a more efficient or better education for the students, whether that be presentation skills or even just materials themselves. So that's where Meeting the Minds is born. Um, and again, I know there's lots of other events out there. I don't like competition. I never, in my mind, I always say we don't have competition. We have other people doing the same thing, but they're not competition.
Mhm.
So it's like when I look at our event, it's really focused on education, and expanding the topic, giving our schools an opportunity to share with like-minded people all trying to do the same thing. We want a graduate that gets placed. that makes money. And and I don't know how that's like I'm sold already. I want to see people be successful. And meeting the minds is just a natural uh progression, from the programs that we've made to the trainings that we do to, hey, let's get everybody together as much as possible.
Yeah, I love so much that you all see like a need and then you are like, this is, we need to create the thing because there's a need here. And that I think is what's going to keep the industry healthy and strong. But I know just as a school owner, you have those certain schools that you'll talk to and you're like, okay, they're the ones that go to this and I met them here and they face these same challenges. So I think the message of it, just all of us being together and things coming up at the event that you're like, oh yeah, like I'm dealing with that also, right? And I love that you pointed out that there's just so much going on behind the scenes that the students just don't always recognize or know that the school is doing or that knows that the school is working on or trying to make the student experience better. I just think being in that community where you're around other people doing the same things, yeah, it just makes us all better. And I think even if there's just like one thing that you're like, oh, I just feel validated in this. I feel like I was alone on this island because I was dealing with this issue, but in reality, you're not, because there's another school that's dealing with the same issue. And when you can find those people that are on the same path as you, and it's just so encouraging and it just really refills your cup of being like, okay, I have maybe, showed up on empty because it's been a hard year, or maybe it's just sometimes the problems that we face, like they sometimes feel too big. But then when you go and you're around other people, you're like, okay, now I know why I'm doing this. I'm reinvigorated. I feel supported. Like all of those things they matter. And you have to find the right place of where you're going to get fed and where you're going to get that from. And I think that we're so excited to attend this year and just can't wait to see what it's all about. Cause not only is it fun and all of those things, but I truly think that we're going to be coming back stronger. And the more schools, I'm the same as you. It's not competition, like obviously like in your own area, but nobody can do it the way that you can do it is I think the important message. You can have people that want to do it the same way, or at least are teaching the same curriculum or whatever it is, but you are the reason that the school is good and vibrant and alive. And so I think that just being around those people, like we're so excited. I never thought I'd be like, I can't wait to come to Wichita, but I am.
Oh, I get that all the time, and maybe it's not Wichita, but we love having it here because you get to see all the things that we do at our different locations and stuff. But you said the magic word there, and it's community, and I think that's where it's like, hey, if you're a professional watching this, or a future student, a future professional, whatever, think about what communities you're developing, and your school's your first one. So it's like that's a source for good education. So what's the next step for you? There's lots of events that you can attend. Meeting the minds is for schools. That's that one. Is like, hey, we know this is a need. We want to make sure schools are invigorated. I love what you said is validated, because there
Mhm.
are challenges and sometimes you found a solution, but it's nice to be able to share it and someone say, hey, that was a good solution. You're like, okay, good.
Mhm.
I'm better than I thought I was. Right. So that's
Yes.
what happens in education. So it's like you might purchase new education and it might be like, oh, well, I've already learned this. But don't I would love for you to do a mindset shift and say it's like, oh, validation, I am good. So sometimes
Mhm.
education isn't about learning something new. Sometimes it's about to solidify something. And that's what Dr. Karen's taught me is reflection is when real learning happens. We talk about engagement styles all the time. Like, oh, I'm a kinesthetic person. If you can't tell, I'm a visual learner too. And I think that I'm a stronger visual engagement style. But really, what you need is the reflection part. So, what did you know in the past, and how does the new information compare? Is there discrepancy? Is there like, oh, it's like, was I wrong? Maybe I wasn't wrong, but maybe I'm adjusting my thought process. So it's like when you're
Mhm.
looking at education, it's not sometimes about learning something new. It's about the validation. I love that word that you used. Sometimes it's about the validation that you are doing it correct, that maybe there's just a minor tweak to it. So
Yeah.
I love that you shared that.
Yeah, and the reflection part of it is huge, and I think, like, encouraging that as early as we can to set that time aside to say, like, I don't know that beauty school students do that as much as I would love them to do that. I think, like whether it's journaling or just again setting that time to say every month I'm going to look back and be like, okay, I learned this. I think that especially and generationally, like I don't know, I want to understand, the generation that's coming up and all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of emphasis on when we go to conferences sometimes, and I don't know if you feel this way too, but sometimes you hear schools that are kind of like just complaining about their students or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you won't catch me like saying a negative thing, because I'm like, I want to understand it and I want to work with it. But I do think that whether it's our generation or, the generation that's coming in right now, I think we all have the same, basic needs or wants, like maybe learning style of you, maybe they are more better with video or whatever it is. I mean, there's those things, but I think at the end of the day, people that want to be successful, those core values are in them already. Like I think it's already there. And so we need to, work on fostering that more than just being like, oh, these kids don't know, blah, 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 how hard it was when we went. I hate that. I really, want to encourage like that reflection time. Cause again, being in this career long enough, we can look back and say, this is important. And I think they're so forward thinking, like results driven. They want to see those things. But man, I like love that idea of stopping to say, but what did I accomplish last month? Like maybe it was one rebook or whatever the goal is. Just
It doesn't have to be crazy big, and that's where it's
yeah.
like, if you're not setting goals, and the program talks about setting goals, so it's like if you're not setting goals, you can't, you don't have something to celebrate, so it's like you're like, hey, I set a goal to see 5 people, I got 4, but last month I got 3, so I'm closer to my goal. That's cause for celebration. You got 1 more than you did last week.
Yeah.
But that's what goal setting can do for us, and having that reflection time is an opportunity to celebrate. And it's not celebrate now what's the next thing. It's really find that it's like, I'm really proud of what I just did. Give yourself some breath in it, really feel it, and then think about what the next step is. Don't go straight
Mhm.
into just like really celebrate, congratulate yourself, and then, at the end of the day, say it's like, okay, now what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? So that you
Mhm.
don't feel like it's just always this like, teeter totter. You don't want to be put in the rat race, essentially, I guess is what I'm thinking. And in my coaching is like really learn how to celebrate and allow yourself to live in it before you go to the next thing. But it's important to still go to the next thing. It's not, oh,
Mhm.
well, Aaron told me to celebrate for, a week and I'm going to the Bahamas first. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Everything is within reason. It's like if your
Yeah.
success is, more of a like, yay, I'm going to get myself a coffee type of situation versus, hey, I just hit 6 figures and I told myself I'd take myself to the Bahamas if I hit 6 figures. That's different. Keep it relative to
Mhm.
the goal, right? So I love this topic. I could go on and on. I feel like there was one thing that I wanted to come back to. Oh, with us, if we have educators listening, what I'd like for you to think about is how often are we telling our future professionals, our students, to get out of their comfort zone? So this generation, I love you so much because you are forcing us out of our comfort zone. We're learning new conversation skills. We're learning new education styles. We're learning new ways of approaching things. So it's like you are really forcing us out of our comfort zone. And I want to say thank you because it's needed. To elevate this industry, we need more people saying, well, why? What is it why do we do it like this? It's not do it because I said so. If I can't tell you why, then I need to go to the team and say it's like, hey, Bobby, I need some education. Like
Mhm.
I need to know, why do we do it like this? And there's always some reason, right? But sometimes we might have forgotten it. So what I love is that getting out of the comfort zone for me means that I'm getting stronger. And so I tell that to the students. It's like, hey, your comfort zone. That means getting out of your comfort zone means that you're getting stronger. Sometimes I'll even say it's like, hey, that question put me out of my comfort zone. That's okay.
Mhm.
They're not expecting every answer perfect every single time. They just want to know why. Like, and I do too.
Yeah.
Like, I
Uh-huh.
legitimately just want to know why. So it's like I like to encourage that when realistic. There's some times when it's like, hey, we're in the middle of a haircut. I'm gonna have you trust me here, but I'm gonna find your why later. Like there's
Mhm.
gonna be some times when we might have to do that. But to me, it's a simple mindset shift. It's like, okay, I'll get out of my comfort zone and I'll go share when I'm out of my comfort zone, and I'll get coaching on it. And I think that makes it a more positive, more uplifting environment because your students are buying education from us. You know, you're going to school, you're literally buying education from us. You're buying our experiences. And so that we want to make sure that we're giving you as much as possible, but at the same time, like, it's okay to question. It's just going to be sometimes where we might have to pivot and give you the answer later. So just bear with us as we get the answer for you. And that's a simple conversation, just like that. And so I would encourage you, if you're in the industry at all, getting out of your comfort zone just means that you're improving, as long as you take the next step.
Yeah, if I was gonna identify one need in schools right now, I think it's that. I think that I can't wait to go back to my team tomorrow and talk to them about this. We've got like a team meeting coming up, and I think that this is real. It's not like, and I love that you explained it so well because it's not a defiance of asking why or whatever. And honestly,
There might
like
be one or two like that.
yeah, yeah,
There might be one or
yeah.
two.
Yes.
Spicy, I could be spicy. But so there might be one or two like that. So it's like the Ritz Carlton says there's going to be 6% of the population that will never be happy. You could literally pull the moon down, just like in, It's a Wonderful Life, and hand it to someone, and they'd be like, well, I really wanted the star over there. I didn't really want this moon. I was like, what the heck? Like, so there are going to be some people that will be unhappy with that. That's okay. It's the true in every industry. Sometimes people's mindsets aren't in the right place for our information, but we're not catering to that 6%. We're catering to the
Right.
94% that'll be ecstatic that we took the time to explain it or share that, hey, let's get some information somewhere else. And so, and this isn't just, me, this is Jess Beck. Like, she was my director before me. She helped me with so many different mindset shifts. And I think that's where it's important is we meet each other halfway. It's like, it's not, hey, get over here on this one side. You got to find a way to like meet each other in the middle. And that's where I think a lot of the synergy comes from. That's a lot of peace and balance comes from. So we're not burning each other out. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we might be burning our student out, or the student might be contributing to educator burnout. So it's like, I think it's important to learn those communication skills.
Yeah, and I think that for us, and this is maybe where schools can benefit as well, but like creating the standard, like that's one thing that over the last, I mean, our school is 95 years old. We're about to have our 96th birthday. So we can't just be like, well, this is the way it's always been done. Like that doesn't work when it's like there's all of this stuff. We couldn't have just stayed in what they were doing in 1930 and never shifted, right? Like there would be no business. But what I am thinking is like those conversations that we have, daily, this is like one example, but I think you really, again, validated for me that this is the right way to do it is like the standard is the standard. So as long as it makes sense and like the standards can change through time as we need to like adapt to students and stuff, but we have, a rule that you have to be there. And obviously we're accredited. So we have to follow certain rules. Like there are things that are like, this is just what we have to do. Right. But an example is our students have to clock in at 8:30. Right. And so what happens at 8:31? Well, I had a student that and those days it's hard. It sucks. It's not fun for us either to be like, yeah, you're late today. Right. But that's the standard. Cause even if, and this is what I told her when she came in my office, cause it was one of those things of, I'm graduating next week and blah, blah, blah. And it, affects hours. Like it's domino effect. It's not just, this thing is, it affects other things. But when I told her, I was like, listen, we could have made it 8:32 and then at 8:33, like things happen and we have the lates and leave earlys and all those behind the scenes school things, whatever. But the message of being, but that's the standard. And it's been that way, whatever. It sucks, but it helps them to understand, like, okay, they're not just being jerks today. They're not just deciding that this is the rule because it's something that we have kept. And when we can explain that, it's like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And there's just like, then the student leaves with a whole different attitude about us than like, oh, they're mean or they make us be there on time or whatever it is. It just like, it makes the situation better.
I don't like accountability either. You know,
Yeah.
I, it's like, hey, I was only 1 minute late. And it's like, yes, but, and it's not a secret. Like there are standards that we're held to as a school, and being accredited. And so, and that's what is one of the things is like, I know it doesn't feel like we should have to because we should trust authority, but at the same time, it's not a secret that we have the standard. And letting people know it's like, hey, we have this standard. It's something that we're held up to because we're being good stewards of the money that's being given to us. So there's
Mhm.
lots of ways to handle that and share. But I love what you said. It's just, hey, I'm going to be transparent. I'm just going to tell the students like this is why we have the standard and this is where it's
Mhm.
at. And I don't necessarily love it either, but this is what we had to do to hold accountability to ourselves
Mhm.
and as a school. So we want to be in compliance. And
Right.
I mean, it's like all of a sudden, it's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, we're held to a standard by
Yeah.
our state and by our federal government. We're held to a standard, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad
Mhm.
thing. That's a really good
Absolutely.
thing. And I think there's times where to be like, there's areas to be flexible, and there's some
Mhm.
areas where we sadly can't be anymore. And I
Mhm.
think that's really important for us to share that with the future
Mhm.
generation coming up, so at least they know it's like, oh, by having these standards, this holds us our industry up to a higher standard, like as a whole. It's not just this
Mhm.
one single school. And thank you for living that. I want to
Mhm.
say it's like if you're going to this, going to the school, like that is a good sign. That means that
Mhm.
they're following the standards and they're giving you the best education possible. Having having accountability in there is important. That is a
Mhm.
good sign. If your schools are just letting you do whatever, that is not necessarily a good sign. Uh,
Yeah, because the
'cause
other side of it too is if we didn't and we are so involved with salons, I know that you're so connected too, and that's another important thing for school is to stay connected with, the graduates and stay connected with the salons and keep a pulse on what's happening in the industry. But I know if we ask 100 out of 100 salon owners, we say it's really important that we get our students ready to have a schedule, that they get used to having to show up at a certain time, and it's not if we give all this grace, but then they go into a salon that's like, okay, well, we do expect like, we're doing a disservice to them. And sometimes when you can just explain how it all works together, I think that that's important. Like you said, just like giving that reason. It's not, I mean, ask why, ask us. Like, we'll tell you that it's not just made up out of nowhere. And we're not like, we just really love 8:30. Like, that's what we love, 8:30 a.m. We want everyone, like, it's not that. There's all those reasons.
sometimes it can feel like that. And that's why I love it's just like if you lead with why, it turns into, it's like, hey, every moment gets to be an educational moment. And I love that you brought it up because like salons, they're really hurting for us people to show up. And it's hard to do business when we don't have people coming in. So it's like
Hmm.
if you're not showing up, that doesn't build a good trust level with our guest that's coming in
Hmm.
or the trust level with the stylist. So it's like, hey, why am I not getting more appointments? It's like, well, consistently you've been an hour late and I had to get that client to someone else. So
Hmm.
it's this is Eric. I love this quote. It's where you put your focus is where you get your results. And so it's like if your focus is on something else other than being on time, then you can't you gotta accept what results you're getting. Maybe you're not making enough
Hmm.
money. Maybe that leads you to go find a second job. And that second job is gonna say the same thing. Please show up on the time that I scheduled you. Please
Hmm.
show up to the time that you agreed to. They're all agreements essentially when it boils down to it. It's like, hey, you started this. I love this. I just learned this from Jen. She's our education director at our sister company, Eric Fisher Academy. We test everything there, right? And so we do this thing called the fast lane, and she talks about agreements. It's not a policy. It's like this is an agreement. By coming to the school, you agreed to these things. And so that's how they've approached it instead of saying, this is the policy or this is the rule. It's all agreements. And I love the way that feels because it's like it gives me an opportunity as an individual to buy in. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, by joining this community, this is the agreement that I have. So if
Yeah.
if you if you're going to school and you're having a hard time, think about it like that. It's like, okay, by going to the school, I'm agreeing to XYZ, and this is what I'd like to see out of my school. It's like
Hmm.
I'd like to see, a career. I'd like to see, making sure that I can monetize my passion, whatever it may be. Like, oh, I want to. I don't know. There's so many different things that you can look for, but to me, it's like, okay, what am I agreeing to? And then what would I like for them to agree to? Like, what kind of education do I want out of my school?
Yes. Ah, I love that. That was so good. I feel like
Thank
that was
you.
perfect. And I really, yeah, that's actually something that I really needed to hear. And I, like you said, the idea of the agreement makes it feel like it's going both ways and that we've considered you and you've considered us. And I absolutely love that. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey, beauty students and educators. I'm excited to share that Beauty School Bobby is now supported by BeautyCast Network, your go to career services and placement platform for the beauty industry. Free to schools, educators, and students, BeautyCast Network connects you with top artists, influencers, and educators who inspire and empower the next generation of pros. From webinars and newsletters to virtual career showcases, competitions, and scholarship pop ups, the platform is packed with tools to build non technical skills, encourage career readiness, and help students launch amazing careers as they approach their graduation date. Learn more at beautycastnetwork.com to help your students thrive and take their career to the next level. Now back to the episode. Aaron, we are asking you to be a guinea pig about a new segment that we are doing here at Beauty School Bobby, where we're doing an Ask Bobby question. So, you're my guinea pig, which I knew that you would be perfect for this because you are so prepared and just have a really well rounded brain with this industry. And so, I'm really excited for to start this with you. But we're asking our guests to bring a question, so something that I can answer. And we gave no parameters, so I have no clue what's coming from Aaron. But Aaron, what question do you have for me today?
Bobby, what's one thing that you would like to see in the beauty industry for the professionals? What's one thing that you would really like to see professionals doing or not doing?
Yeah, it's funny because I had coffee this morning with one of our graduates that has been in the industry for a while. And one of the things that we were talking about, and I think this goes so perfectly with our episodes, you can hear kind of like the reasoning behind it. But I really want to go back to some standards that I think that we let go of. So I think that obviously adapting, like something as simple as like uniform, right? I think that getting back into the standards, I really want like the things that were expected professionally in a salon that I feel like slipped a little, or maybe people just took a little too much liberty on. Like, I really want to see more of the standards coming back. Cause I think that for and I'm interested to know if you agree with this, but I think that the salons were for the last 5 years, like really just struggling to keep people. Okay. And so then I think that the salons maybe overcorrected a little bit and we're just kind of letting stylists run their rules, their standards. Like they were kind of coming in and saying, like, this is what we want. And I want to bring back more of the standards of the salons. I think that we have so much working against us professionally. Like people just really look down on our industry or just think that we're like, I don't know what people think we're doing. Sometimes I hear like wild ideas of what people think hairstylists or beauty professionals are. I'm like, what do you think? Like, what do you think we're doing? I want the standards to come back a little bit more. And I think that, through other resources of connecting, I think we can bring that back. But maybe this is just me being a rule follower. And I'm like, I love rules. I like structure, but I want the standards back. That's what I want.
She was not ready for this question. I literally just came up with that question halfway through, and I was like, I want to ask her this because after we were talking, I was like, oh, I bet you have some good opinions on this. I agree, and I think it boils down to education for me. It's always education. It's like what kind of environment do you want to live in? Do you want to live in an
Mhm.
environment where it's just, very loose and very just, no expectations, but then you're always complaining about the results that you're getting. It's like, well,
Mhm.
I haven't hit six figures yet. And it's like, well, would a six-figure environment look like this? Or would a six-figure environment, and it could be different in every area, right? Like
Right.
I've been to barbershops, I'm like, wow, you guys are making money hand over fist, but you're just wearing sweats. It's like I'm scratching my head thinking, it's like, well, how are you doing this? Then I've been to other places, similar vibe, but they're not making any money. You gotta
Mhm.
take all of that into account. And so to me, it's all about the education on it. I also grew up in an assistant program where I was held to a very high standard in the way I dressed and the way I presented myself. I would not be here today without Eric Fisher and the standard that he set. And
Mhm.
so that doesn't mean that we didn't have friction. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean I was not coached or reprimanded for situations. Uh, how so there is friction sometimes with a higher standard. So sometimes I think a mindset shift can help with that, and really think about it's like I want to. If you want to go into a place and you just feel like $1 million every single time, I will tell you people want to go to those salons because there's not
Mhm.
as many of them, right? Because
Yeah.
there's not as high standards. And when someone holds people up to a standard like yourself at your school, that's a good sign.
Mhm.
That's a good sign that there's going to be growth there. There's going to be opportunity there. So I agree with you, and I think that again, everything boils down to is like, let me give you my whys behind it. It's like when
Mhm.
someone sees a high standard, people follow that. They want to go in and they
Yeah.
want to get their hair done by. It's like, hey, this person always looks this way, and they always give me such a consistent, amazing look. I want to be here, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that, you can't make money because like I've seen it, right? With
Yeah.
like more of a loose feel, but it depends on the demographic you're going for, and it depends on
Mhm.
like where you're at. But to me, 100% with you. I would love to see more salons holding up a standard. And it might even be, you have a coalition. Maybe you're booth renters and you all write a standard for agreement for the booth renters. You can write those things in the contracts. It's a little harder, but I like the idea of commission salons coming back because after being a booth renter, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of
Yeah.
work. You're not only doing your own marketing, you're doing your own finances, you're doing your own everything, stocking. You wear so many different hats. So it's like you do need to crunch the numbers because sometimes commission might be better off. And being
Yeah.
in a commission with higher standards, there's a lot of upside to that. So
Yeah, well, stay tuned and it might even be with you, but even just before we were recording, like Mark and I were talking about how after this conversation that I had this morning and after this meeting, and all to say, yeah, the standard doesn't have to be the same for every person, every place, but like set it, whatever it is, like get that professionalism back, get that whatever that looks like for you, and then find the place where you fit there. But we were just talking about how like my opinion, and again, we'll deep dive all into this, but like in a whole other episode. But my opinion is that it just, the commission salon and what we're seeing in the industry right now is people returning from suites and there was this flow, right? There was this like curve in the river of maybe this isn't the only answer. And I still believe that there's not one path, one way, but I hate to see that. I think the problem was just bad leadership in commission salons and maybe not being willing, like we were talking about, to say, this is the why. It was like, this is why. Like, don't even ask me why, like, not even open to it. I think it was just bad leadership that led people to think that commit because it's not a bad structure. I think there's so many benefits of it. You have to have the right leader. And I think that's where, there needs to be leadership change and there needs to be more training in that way for salon owners. I think that their, millennial like thinking is very different than boomer owner thinking. And I think offering things are the stylist, right? Like from self-care things to mental health resources and all of that stuff that I think not all, but most boomers maybe were like against, and now we're coming, like I think
rigid.
millennials have the opportunity to make it better, and not that it was like worse, but you know what I'm saying, like I think the
Oh, I'm
neg
right there with you.
yeah, I think that was the problem. So how do we make that structure that was working for everybody for so long and still has its benefits and positives, still while allowing this other route to exist? Like two things can exist, but how do we make one better than it was?
Me and my brother were just having the same conversation. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I love you so much. So two things can exist. And this is where it's like, I would go to, there's bad leadership. So I agree with you, but I would almost mindset shift or like even just like language shift of rigid leadership. There's
Mhm.
rigid leadership and then there's over flexible. So it's like, sometimes my
Mhm.
boss is like, oh, Aaron's so loosey goosey with his coat. I'm like, no, I'm not. Don't say that. But what I will tell him is that we got to marry old school with new school. I was like,
Mhm.
it's rigid's not bad. We just need to know how to pivot a little bit. It's really
Yeah.
not like a crazy overhaul of everything that's going on. And that's my opinion right there and my
Yeah.
perspective. And I think that's where it's like, let's give credit where credit's due. Boomers got us here.
Mhm.
you know?
Yes.
So it's one of those things. It's like, okay, what are the positives about that leadership? And it's like, well, we always knew what the standard was.
Mhm.
That we always knew that this is like I have to be here, right? So it's like how can we borrow from that and make that our own? How can we
Mhm.
find flexibility within having a standard? And I think it's this. It's having conversations. It's getting leaders to meeting the minds. I mean, really, when it
Mhm.
boils down to it, is like if we can't talk about it and have either disagreements or share like, hey, I would tweak the way we say that. But you could say it's like, yeah, I don't think we should tweak that. Like we have to have we have to have that confidence to share, but then also to listen as well. And if
Mhm.
I have to be reminded that it's like Aaron, it's time for you to listen. Sometimes
Mhm.
you're not always right, and that's okay. And I think
Yes.
that's where it's like on the millennial generation, like we really just want to show like, hey, we can put a spin on this. We don't have to
Mhm.
overhaul it completely, but we can put
Yeah.
a spin on it. And look, there's gonna be those people, 6% of people never happy with anything you do. It's 94%. They're gonna be on it. They're gonna be ecstatic that you explained why to them. It's like
Mhm.
I'm like a kid in a candy store when someone says, "Oh, well, here's the why we do all of these things." And I'm like, "It's not even my industry. I'm listening to a rocket scientist explain." And I'm like, "That went over my head, but I'm listening." I love why.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
fun. So I would encourage you if you are in the business of education, in terms of finding whys, is I would ask what and how questions. So what are you hoping to achieve by doing this, and how are you going to approach this haircut? That gets better answers versus why did you pick that? Because it's like we talk about why all the time. We find out why, but sometimes asking why can put people in a defensive stance. So
Mhm.
in conversation, I would not avoid asking why. I would just say what and how, like or help me
Mhm.
understand. What's the approach that you're going to take. So that's just a little quick tidbit in my years of working with students. Is if you think about it, it's like your mom said, like, why'd you break the vase? It's like you grow up with this, like almost sometimes why being negative. This come from
Mhm.
Chris Voss, FBI special negotiator. Love it. If you look up his masterclass, you'll learn more about it. But what and how questions can lead to better articulate answers.
Yes. Well, I love that. I think you and I covered so many important topics today. And like I said, I feel like there's even more there, but I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're super busy. So I do appreciate you so much coming on and sharing all of this and for being so open. And I cannot wait to get together at Meeting of the Minds. But where can our listeners follow you? Where can they find more information? I know we'll try to get some links. For both of those programs that you talked about so we can put them in the episode notes. But where can we follow you like immediately?
My ProsperU on Instagram is the best place to go. We do a lot of, our goal in our Instagram is your first 5 years, whether that be, hey, I haven't been reaching my numbers that I want to pivot. You're going to see education to help you with that. Or if you're just starting at a beauty school, we're going to be giving you information that help you from there to making it in your first 5 years, because we know that's very pivotal. And if you want to follow me, I have a couple Instagrams. I don't post super regularly anymore. I focus more so on the Prosper You stuff. But I have Aaron K. Rodgers is my hair page / Prosper You page, and then I also do photography. I love this industry for the fashion and the inspiration, the creativity. So I do photography as well. It's Aaron Rodgers Photography. So if you want to follow me there, but I really encourage you to go to our Instagram, follow us there, and you can find us through the different platforms from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you, and we'll definitely check all of that out. So thank you, Aaron.
My pleasure. Have a good rest of the day. And I just thank you so much for having me. It was such a great convo.
Yes. Awesome. Bye.